Have you ever been in one of those meetings? You know, the one where everyone is complaining about the same people problem for what feels like the 10th time? It doesn't matter how much training you throw at it or how many rah-rah speeches you give, the problem just never goes away. It's got to be one of the biggest frustrations in any organization.
This quote from the great performance pioneer Gary Rumler just gets right to the heart of the matter. A senior manager sees something they don't like, and they immediately jump to a conclusion about the people involved. And look, it sounds logical, it sounds decisive, but as we're about to find out, it's almost always wrong.
And that's the big question we're going to tackle here. What if the problem isn't the people at all? What if we've been trying to fix the completely wrong thing this whole time? Okay, let's start by taking apart the most common and honestly the most flawed approach to management there is. This idea that when performance drops, you just need to fix the person.
So here's a classic example from Rumler's work. You've got a group of engineers and they are always late with their reports. This is a real problem. It's messing with company bids, it's delaying timelines, and what happens? Well, predictably, the blame game kicks off immediately. Right on cue, the VPs jump in. And notice how each one of them defines the problem based on their own favorite solution. One says, it's an attitude problem. We need new engineers. Another says, it's a communication problem. We need to train them. The focus instantly, reflexively, lands on what's supposedly wrong with the engineer. This is where Rumler gave us this brilliant thought experiment. He said, okay, imagine it's not an engineer. Imagine it's a $1 million report writing machine that's malfunctioning. Would you walk up to it and say it has an attitude problem? No way. You'd ask logical questions, you'd check the inputs, you'd analyze the whole system it's plugged into. But the second it's a person, we skip all of that and just blame them. Why do we do that?
Well, that leads us right to the solution. We need a totally different way to look at performance. We have to stop looking at the person in a vacuum and start seeing the entire system that they're operating inside of.
And this is it. It's called the Human Performance System. It's a simple but an incredibly powerful framework. What it teaches us is that any performer, whether it's an engineer, a ticket agent, or even a CEO, is just one piece of a bigger system that's really pulling the strings.
Think of this as your diagnostic checklist. For any behavior you're seeing, you can ask these 5 questions. 1. Is the signal clear? Do they even know what they're supposed to do? 2. Does the performer have the right skills? 3. What's the response we're seeing? And, here's the most important part, 4 and 5, what happens to them, the consequences when they do it, and do they get any feedback?
This right here is the fundamental law of the system. Consequences are the engine that drives everything. And critically, we're talking about consequences for the performer, not for the company. People are smart, they're rational, they will naturally do what gets them good stuff and avoid what gets them bad stuff in their immediate world.
And here's the statistic that just changes the whole game. Based on decades of research, Rumler found that a whopping 80% of the time, so-called people problems have nothing to do with a bad employee. They're caused by a broken system. The person is just doing the logical thing in the environment they've been put in.
Now, to make all of this totally crystal clear, let's walk through Rumler's most famous case study. It's a great story about an airline ticket agent and a tiny $2 fee.
So, here's the setup. The airline has a rule: if a passenger checks a third bag, it costs an extra $2, and the ticket agent's job is to collect that fee. I mean, on the surface, that seems about as simple as a job can get. But now, let's analyze this with our new tool, the performance system. Let's forget what the company wants for a second. What happens directly to the agent when they actually do their job and ask for those $2?
Well, first, they get an immediate negative consequence from the customer, who's now annoyed and feels like they're being nickel and dimed. Second, they have to dig up and fill out this ridiculously complicated form, another negative. And third, as the line starts backing up, their supervisor comes over and snaps, just forget the fee and get them to the plane. A third, really powerful negative consequence.
When you lay it all out like this, the problem becomes painfully obvious. Every single consequence for doing the right thing is negative for the agent. And what about for doing the wrong thing, just ignoring the fee? Well, the transaction is fast, the customer is happy, and the supervisor leaves them alone. All positive.
So, from the ticket agent's point of view, this is the only logical conclusion. The system isn't broken at all. It is perfectly designed to make sure no one ever collects that $2 fee. The agents aren't being lazy or insubordinate, they're just rational human beings responding to the wacky system they've been put in.
Okay, so that's what's happening on the ground. Now let's zoom out and see how the organization completely misreads this whole situation and actually makes it even worse. A vice president is walking through the airport. They see agents not collecting the fee, and they make that exact same mistake we talked about at the beginning. They see the symptom, no fees collected, and they jump to the wrong conclusion. It must be a skill problem. They don't know how. The solution? Retraining.
And this is how that cycle of failure gets going. They pull the agents off the line and send them to what Rumler hilariously called the Human Performance Repair Department, aka the training team. The agents prove in a classroom that, yes, they know how to collect the fee. They get a little check mark next to their name saying they've been fixed, and then they're sent right back into the exact same system where doing the right thing gets them punished. And of course, everyone is just shocked when nothing changes.
And here's the thing. It's not just the agent. The supervisor is a performer in their own system. They aren't getting a bonus for $2 fees. Their performance is measured on average wait time. So when they see a long line, that's a direct threat to their metrics. From their perspective, telling the agent to forget the fee is also a perfectly rational thing to do.
This brings us to the most important shift in thinking of all. We have to get out of the business of trying to fix people and get into the business of engineering performance.
This is the ultimate takeaway. Stop trying to manage people's attitudes or their motivation. It's a losing game. Instead, manage the components of their performance system. Redesign the work, simplify the forms, change the consequences, so that doing the right thing is also the easiest, most logical, and most rewarding thing for them to do. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you're in that meeting and you hear that familiar complaint about a people problem, what lens are you going to use? Are you going to ask who's broken and needs to be fixed? Or are you going to ask the much more powerful question, what in our system is perfectly designed to create the exact behavior we say we don't want?